for you, when was the first time that you realized that, your voice is something that you want to really use to impact people with?
Yeah. So, man, it rewinds back to when I was working for his nonprofit, and it was out in Dallas. And then I went up to my CEO and I was letting him know, said, hey, because like basically he would give me the assignments, I would prepare certain stuff for him, and then he would go
Okay.
speak at conferences and go different places.
Hmm.
And then it was the day before the event. And I said, well, the lady sent the email just to verify that you're going to be showing up. And he was like, oh yeah, I'm Jonathan, I'm not going to that. And I was like, wait, what? He was like, yeah, I'm not going to that. And I said, well, you want me to go ahead and tell her? He was like, no. You don't tell her. Just show up and then just be ready to read the scripture like I was supposed to read and then do the prayer. And I was like, are you sure you don't want me to tell her? And he was like, nah, don't tell her. Just show up and be ready. Man, bro, I was at the house. I was sweating, going over this scripture, reading it time and time again. And I was so nervous. I was practicing like when you about to get the opportunity to pray somewhere that you never been before.
Right.
I gotta practice my prayer and everything. Bro, but it was that day. It was that day when I went up and I stood on that podium and I shared. And after, I was like, wow, just seeing the way that the room was just looking at me and just commanding the attention. I was that bro, that blew me away. That blew me away right there, Lionel.
Man, how old were you at that point in time in your life?
Well, I was like 20. I was in my 20s. I was in my 20s at that point in time. So, I was graduated college, everything like that. But that was one, because in college I took a speaking class.
Okay.
And my professor reminded me so much of Sinbad because he was just high energy and just funny and everything like that.
Right.
And he really let us know that you don't have nothing to be afraid of. But then a year, 2 years later, when I got that opportunity, I mean, I couldn't channel him then. So I was still afraid and still a little uncertain. But
right.
Yeah, bro, it was just that moment where I did it. I was nervous, but yet it still just seemed right. It just seemed right.
Wow. And that moment really was what it was that helped you to see. And it's so cool to hear, right? You know what I mean? Because it's almost like, you got pushed out into that place, right? Where now you're in a position of being uncomfortable to try something different, try something you hadn't done before, but then it opened up a whole world of something new. So where you even now at the point you are now, right? You know what I mean? And I'm sure, there may even still be levels of nervousness sometimes, right? For some specific gigs or things like that. But it's nothing close to what it was, before on that day. You know what I mean? When you sweat bullets, right? You know what I mean? And I mean, in your mind that day, right? When you first spoke, and even afterwards, right? You said, wow, okay, this is, wow. I didn't know it was going to have this impact that it actually had. What was your mindset then, though, about using your gift of speech, right? Because I'm sure now, years down the line, you're at a different point in position. But can you kind of bring us back to that place that you were at then when you first were introduced to this thing that you were in your 20s, you said, right?
Yeah, I was in my 20s.
Not yet necessarily cultivated that thing, but now you're being introduced to something that was going to open up a complete new field for you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say an answer that you probably wasn't expecting, but it was like I got that high from doing the speaking, and then I went back to work, and then I was just gonna go back and do the day-to-day. I was gonna go back and just continue to do everything like it was normal. But my CEO, I think he really just saw something in me, and honestly, he really imparted in me, because he gave me continuous opportunities to speak on his behalf. When it was a program, he was like, all right, Jonathan, go ahead and do this. All right, Jonathan, I don't have time to do this today. You go and do this. And he would send me in his behalf to speak on his behalf at these other places, because he knew, I'm going to say he knew that if I didn't continue to go from that day, then it would have been a good experience. Right. I just chalked it off and just, continue doing just whatever. But he just kept that muscle going, kept me uncomfortable. He kept me uncomfortable. And there's so many other experiences, but yeah, man, uncomfortability.
That is so cool, to have somebody who sees something in you. It makes me think back to when I was in college. I became a part of the PB Productive Poets. And the guy who was leading, he was like the head of the group, Triple P, they called it, right? I remember he asked me to host. And I thought it was so crazy because I'm like, I don't even know why he would ask me to host. I have never hosted anything before. It was just random, right? But I remember it wasn't until years later that I thought back and said, man, he must have really saw something, about me or in me to even ask me to do that, because later down the line, I'm like, I've done it over and over again. But at that time, I couldn't even see that in myself. And I guess that shows us the importance of being connected to the right people. You know what I mean? Getting in the right rooms, you know what I mean? And so thanks for watching the Lion and Lambo podcast. We hope this clip has been a huge blessing to you. And we want to remind you that we drop new videos, new podcast episodes every Sunday at 9 o'clock. You can find the full episode by clicking the card up at the top right of this video. If you prefer an audio-only experience, then we want to let you know that we're streaming through every major podcast streaming platform. For the full list, you can go to www.lionandthelambo.com. Until next time, go impact the world.